Give me a 3, 2, 1. What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by the lovely Ashley Soden and our favourite Scotsman in the world, Stephen Collins. This is, as I say, the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 245, I believe. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the referees' bribes. Going to be a running theme on the show today, ladies and gentlemen. I will warn you not of this. But gents, it's good to have you in here with us as always. If any of you in the chat are wondering where the hell is Matt today, if you're not familiar with podcasting, what happens before you go on air, you have to go to something called the podcast referee, and you have to declare to him which one of you is going to be hosting the show on the day. So obviously, me and Matt go in there as we always do, and Matt's like, Matt, reporting eligible, and the guy kept saying Anthony. We're like, Matt. He's like, no, Anthony. So you're stuck with me today. Matt's not allowed to do this. The podcast referee decided that is the way that things go. So no, I'm just joking. He has got the flu this evening, unfortunately. There's a big case of it going around. So send all your well wishes to Matt there in the comments. But as I say, there's the three of us here this evening. Gents, we are a couple of days removed from the game because, of course, we got the lovely late Saturday night kickoff this week, up till 5 a.m. for everything that went off. 2 days later, how are you both doing?
Still as angry as before. Doesn't help the fact that Cowboys fans are deciding to bring up the tripping penalty as if that completely changed the game. What about the missed DPI and Amon Ra? What about the missed hold on the 92-yard touchdown? One decision does not make it a game, but that decision pretty much did make that game because it went downhill from there. So fuck Brad Allen and fuck Cowboys fans.
I mean, come on, Ash, don't sit on the fence here. Let us know how you really feel about that one. Steve, how are you feeling 2 days on from the Cowboys and the Lions?
That was top Ryan sitting on the fence from Ash there. I mean, it's a familiar tale, isn't it? An NFL team goes into Jerry World and mysterious things happen. So I think the thing that I kind of makes me feel less suicidal, because I really wanted to beat the Cowboys, in their own stadium. And I think it would have been an important marker laid down in terms of the playoffs. But I mean, we played so well. We made there were mistakes, but we played really well against. The Cowboys are probably one of the top 6 teams in the NFL. I would say. That I wouldn't say they're in the top 3, but they're definitely in the top sort of 5 or 6. And intimidating atmosphere, and the players did not melt. They absolutely played their heart out, played some really good stuff, and I think there's loads of positives as well as negatives to take away from the game. So I've kind of just tuned the ref things out because I think I don't want to ruin my new year by just steaming, so I've just tried to kind of tune it out.
And it's not like you can go to football either to get a bit of a relief at the minute, is there? So, but you say you're not letting the refs bother you, and your Zoom name is Zebras Hate Lions. So clearly, subconsciously, they're still having.
I'm just getting out my angst in existential ways, and obviously, there has been one football result which has given me a lot of pleasure over the last few days, but I can't talk about it for reasons at the bottom of the screen.
And Ash is just here not commenting on this because he absolutely does not want to put the curse on Villa at the minute. Beans as they top of the Premier League now, or are they joint top?
Joint top with Liverpool, and if Liverpool lose 7-0 tonight, we do officially go top. But
would you win a trophy for that?
If someone would have told you,
would you win a trophy for winning over Villa despite being 7 places below them? we came back in the second half, trophy awarded to Ten Hag.
Oh, we're stirring the pot already early here. But I mean, if you'd have been told 4 months ago, Ash, that the Lions are going to the playoffs and Villa are joint top of the Premier League, what would your reaction have been then? Just been like,
what the hell did I sacrifice to make that happen? Did I give up my first 5 born children or something?
It would have been like
satanic ritual.
that South Park meme with lots of semen everywhere.
That's what the NFL demands of you to get good refereeing calls. We need to give up more to them. But anywho, yeah, we are going to be discussing the Lions and Cowboys game today. Just shout out to everyone in the building with us. Michael Bravo on Twitter. Oh, sorry, Twitter. YouTube. Carlton Wood is in the building. Donkey Kong's in the building. Brent is in the building. Ward Gushy is in. Marcus. DMAP Zoom. TJ. Lisa is in the building. Hope you're doing well, Lisa. Chrome is in the building as well. Just bear with me today. It's been a long time since I've prepped one of these Lions shows and hosted. But as I say, Matt is not well at the moment, but I will do my best this evening. I'm in the chat, so if you've got any questions or anything you want to ask as we go along, we shall do that indeed. Let me just get all the housekeeping stuff out the way first. So our Discord, if you want in, let us know. We will fire a link your way. Come and join us. It's coming up to playoff season. It's going to be great. College football podcast with myself and Ryan. We will be back this week on Wednesday. We sort of took a Christmas break off last week in mid-bowl season. So this week we're going to be talking about bowl season, sort of reviewing that. And we're going to be reviewing the college football playoffs as well. Big shout out to the Michigan Wolverines this evening, taking part in the Rose Bowl against Alabama. Go smash Saban, please. Otherwise, I will spend 2 hours talking rubbish about you on Wednesday. Don't forget to like and sub to everything. Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. We really appreciate the support there. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's pet project to bring together the best in YouTube content creators on YouTube, which include ourselves. But it's a great app. Get in there and you can just find everyone in one nice, easy to use app. Don't forget, we are a Twitch affiliate. We're monetized on YouTube. We have a tip jar if you want to support us that way. But we just love having you in the building. And don't forget, we've got a feedback form as well. So if you want to put anything in there, any feedback we take on board going forward. And I forgot to shout out all the guys in Twitch as well. My apologies. Mike the Marine is in there. Dan Pask is in the building as well. Mike the Marine sent us a highlighted chat. Playoffs round 2, 1 plays, 4 or 5, 2 plays, 3. Detroit at Dallas. We'll talk about that in a little minute. But yeah, we're going to the playoffs and it's such a good feeling there. And I do have one shout out that Matt wanted me to do from the stream the other day when Ash and Matt were doing the live reaction to the Cowboys show. Mark LeBay, with a $10 donation to us there, said, thought we played well enough to win this one. Too bad, not a win, but not a bad showing. Happy New Year. So thank you very much for that, Mark. And in that vein, just a nice, easy one to you guys here. Happy New Year. Hope you've had a good Christmas. How has Christmas been? What Lions presents have we had over Christmas? Let's go with this first. Have you had anything Lions related?
I think I've got everything Lions related, down to a Detroit snowman on my Christmas tree over the last few years. So this year, nothing. My best present was winning the NFC North.
Oh, and of course, getting to come and talk with us about it as well. So,
Obviously.
Nothing new for you, Ash, from the Lions for Christmas?
No, unfortunately not, no. Instead, I got an Ancient Aliens book and stuff like that. So,
oh dear. Well,
we move.
I was going to do a little show and tell there. I think we've got a lot, but I had this arrive. This is an absolute beauty. So my mother went and got this for me. It is a football history of the Detroit Lions with clippings from the Washington Post. And it goes all the way back to 1935, back when Army were a good college football team, Brent.
And you in the crib.
You've got all these bits in there, and it's so fascinating, and it's absolutely wonderful. And of course, you get to go back and read about the times we won championships and that. So, can't complain about that at all. Anyhow, let's talk Lions. We've done that out the way. So there's a little bit of news to go through first. Dan did his presser about an hour ago. I will let Ash go through that in a moment, but let's talk about something a bit more happy in relation to the Detroit Lions first. And let's talk playoffs, because indeed we are going to the playoffs this year. And given the result that has happened this weekend, our playoff opposition, our seeding and everything is getting very narrow now, to the point where we can paint a picture of what is happening. So Lions currently hold the 3rd seed. Can't drop to the 4th. 3rd is the lowest we're going to get. We can still get to the 2nd seed, but that would require 3 results. The Lions to win against the Vikings this upcoming weekend and upsets by the New York Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles, although is that an upset? The run of form they're on? I don't know. And the Washington Commanders against the Dallas Cowboys. If all those three results were to happen, Lions would get the second seed, but odds are it's going to be number 3. And we are down to now just 2 possible opponents for the 6th seed. And this is like, for me, this is between a rock and a hard place here. I'm absolutely dreading the thought of this, but it's going to be one of the Green Bay Packers or the LA Rams. And of course, we all know about this. So the Rams currently hold the spot. They will secure the 6th seed with a win against the 49ers this weekend, or a Green Bay loss against the Chicago Bears. The Packers need to beat the Bears, and they need to hope the Rams lose against the 49ers as well. But, I mean, gents, I don't know about you. I mean, you know, the playoffs, you've got to face some tough teams in there. But for your first team, you're going to be at home. It's going to be the Packers, who have roasted our asses for a very long time now, or it's going to be Matthew Stafford and the Rams, which is just going to be one of the biggest storylines, probably the biggest storyline going into playoff season. How nervous are you feeling about this? Are you relishing this? How do we feel now that our playoff fate is almost sealed?
I'm feeling super chilled about it because I think the Rams and the Packers there's still a scenario we could play the Seahawks possibly. I'm feeling super chilled about all those. First of all, we've got home field advantage, which is massive. And secondly, I think, and this might be controversial, I think the Bears are going to beat the Packers next week. I just think that the Bears are playing really good football, and I've got no. Is it at Lambeau or Soldier Field?
It's at Lambeau.
Yeah,
Packers beat Bears at Soldier at the start of the season.
I think the Bears, I think the Bears are going to be really up for it. Like, you know, we know Eberflus is like fighting for his job. Fields is fighting for his position as, you know, QB1. And, you know, them not drafting another quarterback. So I think the Bears are going to be going full tilt for that. And I think they've got a really good chance of winning. And also, like, none of them scare me. The Rams, you know, have got a couple of weapons, but are very beatable. And also, like, we've no idea what's going to happen with San Francisco or the Rams, because it doesn't really help the Rams winning another game. So the Rams, they're pretty much tied into the 6th. They're not going to catch the Cowboys or the Eagles in 5. So the Rams could rest half their roster. So I think we're going to end up playing the Rams. And maybe we get into like roster chat about what we do against the Vikings in terms of the roster. Maybe we'll touch on that later.
So Ash, I don't know if you feel any different to this, but I mean, in terms of like playoff narratives, especially playoff narratives if we were to lose, I mean, these are probably the 2 worst teams we could come up against. The NFC North bully for many a year, like they're the ones you've got to put away, or Matthew Stafford. Like, if he gets his first playoff win in Detroit as a Ram, we are never going to hear the end about this ever. It is going to be one of these 2 scenarios more than likely. Are you as melancholy as Steve about this, or are you like me where you're like, I just don't like what happens if we lose?
Yeah, I'm on what I don't like what happens if we lose, but also I don't like the potential of what happens if we win. The NFL script writers have set up the NFC perfectly for a load of narratives. So obviously, if we do face the Rams, it'll be Matthew Stafford returning home. Can Detroit win their first playoff game in over 30 years? And if we beat that, we're more than likely going to go on the road to Dallas. And then the other side of it's going to be a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game with all the controversy there. So they've set it up perfectly for them to be a great divisional round. If we win, Dallas wins, and that's how it sets up. So I'm dreading it because me and you both live on Twitter. We live and die by our narratives and our takes. So it'll be horrific for us if we lose. But at the same time, if we win and we conquer those narratives, it just makes it all that sweeter. Like, yeah, Green Bay roasted us at Thanksgiving, but 3 times before we played them before that, we beat them. They are beatable. Yes, Jordan Love's heating up and he's actually looking somewhat like a competent quarterback now, which is kind of scary, but The rest of that team is banged up. Christian Watson, Romeo Dubes are constantly out. So is Tavian Wicks, their wide receiver core is supposed to be really good, banged up. AJ Dillon still can't do anything. Aaron Jones, I haven't heard anything about for a good couple of weeks. And that defense is still coached by Joe Barry, so it's going to have weaknesses. And in the Rams, it's got Stafford, and you've got Donald, and you've got Puka, and you've got Cup, and you've got Kyron Williams, who's doing some good things. But again, the rest of that roster's not that good. The O-line's not what it was when Goff was there. The defense is no longer loaded with superstars like Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, all this. They're also beatable. So for us, the chance is there to end these narratives. And then, as like I say, 2024, make it the year of the Lion. We conquer all these narratives, and then we come into next year, even if we lose in like the divisional round against the Cowboys, we've got that monkey off our back of winning a playoff game. We can go into next year with a slightly improved NFC North, with the Bears having now been locked into the number 1 pick. They probably will trade that away for Caleb Williams because a field that actually looks kind of okay. They can load up on some talent. Vikings, if they get Kirk back, they might be okay. Green Bay, obviously, they've got a load of first-round talent on that defense, and they've got the chance to maybe get a couple of O-line pieces to fix that. It could be a fairly competitive NFC North next year, but we'll still be the best of it. So it's just start creating our own narratives now instead of being the ones the narratives against. Create our own. So next year when we play Green Bay, it'll be like, if we beat them in the playoffs, it'll be like, wow, they beat them in crunch time a few times now. Are the Packers finally done? Is it the new dynasty in the NFC North? If we beat the Rams, we get that monkey off our back. It's win-win either way if we win.
But I don't know what you think about this, Ant, but like it's all about our mentality going to the playoffs. And if we go into the wild card, we've won the division, we've been one of the in top seeding, one of the top seeds in the NFL for several weeks now. And if we go in with the mentality, oh God, we have to play like a really weak team, like we're screwed. Like we need to go into the playoffs thinking, okay, if we're going to win the Super Bowl, we're probably going to need to beat the Ravens, maybe the Bills and the 49ers. We can't be there like pissing our pants about Green Bay at Ford Field or the Rams at Ford Field. We have to think it's people like the Ravens and the 49ers that are in our sights, and we've got to be able to win those kind of games. So let's just not spend the next 2 weeks just wetting our pants about 2 very bang average teams.
Oh,
that's kind of like my view.
This Campbell team, they don't think like us. They will take whoever. They will take on a roster of 53 like androids who are perfectly perfected to play the game and who can't lose. They will go out there and want to beat them. It's just, for me, I just want this to be like, for us, this is us rebuilding like from the beginning. Like winning the NFC North is such a big thing for us. I want to enjoy it. I want to go into the offseason hearing about how Matthew Stafford's won a playoff. That's it for me. I want this upward trend to continue. I don't want to say, oh, the Packers still own you and stuff like that, because it'll make the NFC North feel empty if they beat us in the playoffs. But of course, you've got to go and do it. So it's just, for me, they're like the 2 teams I really wouldn't want. Hopefully we can smack one of them, and then the NFC South participant, whoever that might be, can beat the Eagles, and then we get them. Who knows? There could be a lot of fun scenarios in play, but yeah, that is everything in terms of playoffs. If we get the 2nd seed, we can still play about 5 or 6 teams. We will not focus on that now. We will move on. And before we go into the game itself, Dan hosted a press conference about an hour ago. I'll hand this one over to Ash because he's watched this. So anything of any note that he said regards, I think it was only the Jameson Williams injury, but anything else come out of that?
Roughly, obviously, the update. JMO is day-to-day with the ankle sprain, I believe it is. But it's not serious. He should be okay. And Laporta's all good because supposedly, I think it was Carl Menike tweeted after the game that Laporta was hobbling out the locker room. He's completely fine, so we should be able to deal with him. He did also say, though, they would like to get CD Juice, Aleem, and Jason Kabinda on the field this week. He mentioned Kabinda, despite Kabinda not even in on the roster. So that means we're probably going to sign him to the practice squad this week, and he's going to be called up for the game. Well, that's an interesting wrinkle, especially since I know, obviously, we were a bit confused when we initially signed him off IR and then released him. Seemed a bit confusing. It's even more confusing now because we seem to be bringing him back for a practice squad spot. So who's going to go off that? Is it going to be a young talent that we might want to keep hold of? Because with quite a lot of teams' seasons ending next week, they can start signing those futures contracts. The sort of highlight for us the past couple of years in playoff week was seeing which practice squatters and which free agents were getting the futures contracts. There's going to be other teams now, and they might be able to get some good talent off us for that. But other than that, it's obviously the biggest discussion point was the thing we'll come on to later at the end of the game. And Campbell just summed it up. I think the team's mentality at best. I've got controlled fury. That's all we can ask for the team, I guess, because as we'll discuss it to death later, the 2 points. So I'll bring up the stuff he says there then. But that was the driving point for the conference. Obviously, that's the big talking point right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't worry. We've got a section ready for ref bashing today, but we're going to try and separate that and talk about the game, because actually, I quite enjoyed the game. Take that little bit out of it. I was having a jolly good time watching that, so we will focus on that. But the question has been asked, and might want me to leave it till later, but you've just mentioned it in the chat there. So Mike Marine asks, who are we dropping for the three guys who are coming back? Potentially, if we do. So we've got to include Kabinda as well. So who do we reckon? Three guys to make way for these three. Any ideas, any thoughts onto who they might be?
It's sad to say because, again, this is some people had faith in the preseason. Anton Green has been a healthy scratch. Gilly has been a healthy scratch. And then someone like Benito or someone like that, or even Levi, because these guys aren't really getting that many snaps. And they're obviously on the 53. So those three for the ones come to 53 and then on the practice squad, God knows. It's a crapshoot on there. It could be someone like Michael Schofield who just re-signed this week. It could be someone else. But yeah, I think the guy, just look at who's been healthy scratches. Even Julian, which I know will make some people happy. Actually, yeah, to fair, Julian makes the most sense for Houston because that's like for like. So Julian for Houston, Gilly for CD Juice, and then for Aleem, I don't know, let's say Levi.
I would just caveat that I'm never happy when a player gets cut, but he's there. He's missed 3 of the last 4 now, Julian has, which is a problem. Steve, is there anyone you'd add to the list to accommodate these 3 guys?
No, I think Ash is about in the right ballpark there. I don't think we'd drop Benito Jones. I mean, they've been pretty creative about how they've moved roster spots, so I don't think it will necessarily be like for like.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, right. He did ask another question as well. Let me just see if we can take this on before we go. Did JMO hurt his ankle during the celebration runaround? No, JMO hurt his ankle on that big play, didn't he? The big catch he had.
He had a big catch. You could see Dr. Liao for DLP tweeted a bit during the game. You can see him as he's making the catch. He sort of bent his right ankle a bit, and I suppose it's a lower ankle sprain on that side. It's going to be day-to-day, just ice, breast it up kind of thing. He should be fine.
So yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about this now while we're just talking about like roster and who might be getting some game time next week, but what do you think about resting some of our starters for the game against the Vikings?
All right, well, again, I'm going to save this, but we've got the question. So Mike again asks, who are you resting in next week's game if there's going to be anybody? I'll put me 2 pence in to start with. I think for me, just guys who have injury concerns. I would consider resting Frank, given his toe, and put Glasgow at centre and maybe bring Colby in for some needed reps, get some guys in there. Maybe Taylor, dependent, use Skip, move Penne over. Outside of that, guys who may be injured. If JMO's day-to-day, I don't think I'd risk JMO. I'd want him fully healthy. But outside of that, if they are first teamers and they are fully healthy, I want them to play. I don't want them to go in cold. NFL season's short and you can soon get out of shape. But anyone else you guys would add? Would you do the whole first team? I don't know. What your thoughts?
Sit Goff in a sec. If we're up in going in halftime, I'm sitting Goff. I'm putting Teddy in, getting him. Hell, I might even, if you really want to be protective of Goff, make him a healthy scratch going into the game. As the third QB thing, use the third QB thing to still have him around just in case injuries happen and we need to come in, but have Teddy as QB1 and then Hooker as QB2 coming into the game. Because then you don't then have to risk, you won't have to have injury then to have Hooker come and get some snaps. If we're, let's say, we're 10 points up with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth, and we have a drive, we can put Hooker in, get him some actual game experience to see what a tiny bit of what we've got and see what we can do with his mobility, just to give Ben an idea, maybe bringing up some packages for him. Because one of the things that me and Matt keep saying, especially on the previews, and that is we could maybe use Hooker kind of like how the Saints use Taysom Hill in a way, like just get him in a sort of as a wildcat guy, get him running the ball, doing some things, it's stuff like that.
I mean, I think we should be really, really ruthless about this. No one is going to care if we win our last game against the Vikings, if we like get a playoff win. And it's Bridgewater's last game because I think he's retiring after this. Obviously playing against his old team. I'd start him. And, you know, if he does okay, keep him in. If he's an absolute disaster, then maybe bring Goff back in. But I'd start Bridgewater because, you know, the one thing that's going to derail us more than anything is Goff going down. When you look at the snap count that Hutch has had over the season, I'd probably give Hutch a rest. I mean, Hutch had his best game for me on Saturday, but you know it wouldn't hurt, I think, to give Hutch a rest and get him like really fresh. I mean, you know, like absolute tanks like Amon-Ra, I don't think would appreciate the rest. But yeah, anyone with a niggle, definitely Frank and Taylor. Why risk them? Because I don't think we're going to get the second seed, and I don't think there's anything to be gained. And also, like, if someone does go down with injury before the playoff game, then it's good to give the second tier guys, like, you know, some reps.
I feel like the ideal scenario for me is you rest a few, but if you can get a couple of scores up early against the Vikings and then just start bringing people out. But I think I agree there. These fringe guys like Gilmore, who's not played, Broderick, who's not played much, hell, even Julian and Charles Harris and guys like that. I think you have to give them big snaps in this because you've got to see if they can give you anything going into the playoffs, and you've got to get them ready. I agree. I would drop Hutch's snaps to a minimum. Dude's played so much this year, and it's like he's really had a load put on him. And, you know, we had a great game this week. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but I think he might benefit from a little bit there. So I'd do a little bit of everything here. I wouldn't go full on it. You've got to respect the Vikings. And, of course, you want to win, but there is a bit to be done there. So, yeah. Anyhow, let's talk about the game itself. We've got to get into it eventually, and we've got to start ref hating a little bit. But I mean, maybe not the game we expected coming in. Two high-octane offenses, team who scores 40 at home on average. Our offense, which we know is damn well good. Detroit 19, Dallas 20 in a battle of the defensive sides of the ball, which maybe we didn't see coming, but an absolutely brutal affair in this one, especially for the quarterbacks who were in it of a lot. But in terms of inactives on the day, so for the Lions, Hendon Hooker, quarterback, Antoine Green, wide receiver, Brock Wright, tight end, Broderick Martin and Levi on the defensive line, Julian at linebacker, and Stephen Gilmore, good Lord, I keep calling him Stefan at cornerback. For the Cowboys, no Trey Lance, he's their emergency third QB, Rico Dowdle at running back, the tackles, Asim Richards, Matt Waletsko, both were dealing with injuries, Jonathan Hankins, their defensive tackle, and a couple of corners, Noah Igboene and Eric Scott there. As sort of always, and how Matt does this, I'm trying to keep it true to how he gets on with all this. But just first, before we start off, and let's keep the ref thing to one side here, because we will just unload on them later. But what were your high-level takes of the game, sort of coming out of it? What were you feeling? What were your high-level aspects of this, guys?
For me, I think we've learned a really important lesson here, and that is in the playoffs, just like at the top level of any sporting competition, it's all about moments. It's all about opportunities. It's all about two or three plays, two or three, like, you know, flashes of action that make or break the game, that decide it. Because when you're in the playoffs, you're playing really high-level teams. It's going to be intense, and it's going to be really, really close all the way through. There's very rarely like a blowout, and that's how the game was. And for me, there were two things that turned the game, and it was the 9-point swing between Derek Barnes taking down Dak for a safety, and him completing the pass for the CeeDee Lamb, was it 92-yard touchdown?
Yeah.
For me, that was the biggest moment of the game. And I would say the second biggest thing in the game was, I think the Cowboys had 7 tackles for losses. And this was a game when our O-line, which is, no doubt one of the top 5 O-lines in the league, but we got out schemed. And Dan Quinn did his thing, and there was several times when our O-line was like embarrassed, and it stopped our run game a bit. And I thought Demo and Gibbs were brilliant, that they ripped off some really good plays, but unfortunately for every 15, 20-yard run, there was like a tackle for a 2-3 yard loss, and that disrupted the flow of our offense. We were too reliant on Goff, too reliant on the passing. And what happens when we're too reliant on Goff? Bad things, and Goff starts to sweat and throw picks. And that's kind of what cost us the game. The Barnes miss and the tackles for losses.
Yeah, and literally my point was to build we'll build perfect off that tough losses. We were playing a defense that up front, especially in the linebacker room, with one of their 2 starting linebackers being converted safety, it's reliant on speed. It's speed over power. So what did we do? We played a lot of long developing run styles that allowed them just to flow right to the ball. And as soon as we got the ball to the running back, they're getting tackled. We played into their hands as we were in the game early, especially in that first half. There was, and Matt will come back me up here because obviously he was watching. There was points where I just had my head in my hands because you could see we were going to do another trap style thing where Laporte was going to come across the formation, and usually that went well. But because we're playing against a fast flowing style up front, it wasn't going to work, and I could just have my head in my hands. And luckily for us, when it came out of halftime, we made an adjustment. We went more to the power based stuff, the gap stuff that we do well. Didn't fuck around as much, and it worked. We got some big runs. I like, as much as we like to praise Ben Johnson, he probably still will get coaching interviews. He was the worst of the 2 coordinators, the 3 coordinators yesterday. Because
it was not a good audition for a head coach role, was it?
Exactly, yeah. It's really not. Because Glenn, for the most part, scheming was perfect. There was obviously the big touchdown, but there's some mitigating factors there possibly. We held them pretty well. We held a team that averages 39.9 points at home this season to 20. That's really damn good. And then obviously, once we get to in a bit, Dave Phipp pulled out the perfect play at the perfect time to keep some momentum going. That play, so good.
I'm trying to see where the hole in your roof is, because I imagine you went through it when they pulled that off.
Oh, yeah.
I bet, first thing you think of special teams is, yeah, Ash, well, that'll be in his Hall of Fame, that will. He loves that, but this is where I'm at after this one, and it is kind of a continuation on that. It's like, at the start of the season, and for the most part, with the offense, it's been up here, and with the defense, it's down here, and this is how I've thought about it. But now, it's here, because the defense seems to be getting better and adjusting. And outside of some big chunk plays, as we've mentioned, they were damn good. They kept them to below 3 yards a carry in the run, which is great because it means they got to throw it. And after a few balls ups, that is the problem. But the offense, we know what it can do. Why is it so cold for so long? It looked great on the first drive. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. We're going to see some stuff today. Unfortunate stop. You're going to get that. And then it went cold. And then for so long, the defense kept holding out, and you're thinking they're going to get away from us eventually. But they didn't. The defense kept going and going and going and making takeaways. And I genuinely don't know where I'm at now. It's like they're here. And one's trending negatively. One's trending positively. It's like, that's not good. At this point, they want to be going in lockstep up together. If the offense is still here and the defense is here, that is a Super Bowl team.
I think the thing is, I would say our defense was somewhere down near my nether regions and has come up. Our offense is kind of like here, but our red zone offense is here. And that's the difference. It's because in terms of getting up the field, we were consistently able to do it. And third, fourth down conversions. There was some life in it, but the red zone offense, that was terrible. And I think when JMO made that big catch, I think he did he get to the 8-10 yard line?
Yeah,
and I just had no confidence that we were going to punch that in. And the frustration thing is we've got David Montgomery, who is one of the best running backs in the NFL at punching it in from short yardage. But instead,
4 times.
we were dicking about with short passes.
It is what I was like when he threw that pass to J-Mo, I'm like, where the hell's that going? Like, that's not going to that thing just disappeared like a rocket. It was a wonderful pass, but I agree, it's just stagnant for too long. If they were working in lockstep together, we'd have been 20 points clear at halftime, like genuinely. And we weren't, but the execution's also concerning me as well. It's like, I know you guys will have noticed it, but how many unblocked blitzes they had at our run, like the guys never stood a chance, and you're like, why again? Like all the time, your running back's back in the ice, so far behind the line of scrimmage, he's barely making it to the quarterback before he's getting hit, and you're like, we don't make mistakes like this. Earlier in the season, we were executing this stuff to a incredibly high level, and now, do you know what is it? The
thing I don't understand about the red zone, just going back to just finishing up on that, is we've got Montgomery, we've got Laporta, who's got great hands, and we've got St. Brown, who's got great hands in those situations. So we've got 3 of the best red zone options, but we just seemed unable to kind of utilize them. And for me, that was, that's got to be on Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
It's tough. I don't.
Yeah, it's so I think it was Pride of Detroit. I was listening to their recap of it, and they theorized that when we get into that sort of goal and go situations, there's just not enough space for pretty much everything we like to do. It just really restricts our playbook. But even as you say, there is ways of scheming it up. Like as we saw at the end, we do have plays for those sort of short yardage stuff. It's just they rely on like everybody getting the execution right, and it has to be like the first read has to catch the ball, otherwise things go wrong. And yeah, it's something we need to work on because we can't just keep scoring long touchdowns from 20 yards plus out. We need to be consistent in the red zone because that's where things will go. That's what you need to do in the playoffs. You need to convert as many opportunities as you can. If we get into the red zone, we need to score touchdowns at least because I've not field goals. So I've pulled it up in the meantime, the drive chart for that drive where we had the massive passes to James and Williams. From then on, we gained 7 yards. We got Gibbs left end run for -2 yards. Amon-Ra got 9 back, missed pass to Gibbs, delay a game, try and get him offside, and then we kicked a field goal. We had momentum then coming out into the fourth quarter, and it was 10-10. We had the chance to really put a foot in their throat, and it just stalls out after one good play.
I mean, if we're first and goal from like the 8-yard line, and we've got David Montgomery, give it to Montgomery 4 times, and I would bet that he would get into the end zone. But what we were doing was we're putting like Gibbs in shotgun, and then immediately Gibbs loses like 3 yards tackle for loss, and then all of a sudden, like we're screwed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of questions to be answered, I think, for me at the minute. And, thankfully, we've got this. We can almost use this as a tune-up game this weekend, I think, to get fancy and try and get some of this stuff out there. But anyhow, let's go through the box scores first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the offense and the defense. So, box scores on the day when I get them. So, for Detroit, Jared Goff, 19 of 34, 271 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, 1-on-1 for 31 yards, passer rating of 118.8. Go JRM. The Detroit rushing attack, David Montgomery, 14 carries, 65 yards at 4.6 per click, and a rushing touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 for 43, just 2.9 for him. Amon-Ra had 1 carry for 11 yards. J-Mo had 1 carry for 6 yards, which threatened to break into a touchdown, but not quite. Receiving-wise, Amon-Ra, 6 receptions, 90 yards, 1 touchdown. Sam Laporta, 7 receptions, 84 yards as he continues to break hearts and break records. J-Mo had 2 catches for 69 yards. Khalil Dorsey, quarterback Khalil Dorsey, 4th best receiver on the day with 1 reception for 31 yards. Josh Reynolds had a catch for 13, Khalif for 11, and James Mitchell 1 for 4. Jahmyr Gibbs had 1, but it was for nothing there. On the defense, Cameron Sutton, we're going to talk about him. He led the way, 10 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. We had 8 tackles for loss on the day. Alex Anzalone had 1. Hutch had 4, as well as 3 sacks. Kindle Vildor and Derek Barnes both had 1 as well. And then moving on to Dallas's side, Dak, 26 of 38, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Tony Pollard, 16 carries, 49 yards, only went at 3 yards per carry. CD Lamb had 1 for 5. Dak and Deuce Vaughn both had 2 carries for 7 yards between them. They had 21 carries, 61 yards on the day. That's 2.9 yards. Absolutely destroyed that. In the receiving game, however, CD's nuts, 13 receptions, 227 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks had 5 for 60 and a touchdown. Jake Ferguson, tight end extraordinaire, had 4 for 33. Deuce Vaughn had 1 for 10. Jalen Tolbert, 1 for 9. Hendershot, the tight end, 1 for 6. They had 345 yards in the air on the day. And on defense for them, as we mentioned, they had 7 tackles for loss as well. 1 from Marquise Bell, 2 from Micah Parsons, 2 from DeMarcus Lawrence. Dorrance Armstrong got 1 as well. So did Dante Fowler Jr. They also hit Jared Goff 7 times as well as just 1 sack on the day from Dorrance Armstrong. But Goff was hammered all over the place. We had 3 sacks, I must have said. Aiden had them all. We also hit the QB 7 times. Aiden had 5. So defensive day on there. But anything that sticks out for you guys? Well, let's talk about offense first on the day. For us, I mean, it was, I don't know. We just didn't get it going in the rushing game. Goff, as you said, struggled in there. A few big plays, but not vintage Lions offense from us in this one.
Yeah, really not. And it's concerning because, as I said on the preview, usually the Cowboys struggle against our scheme. We saw it a couple of weeks ago with the Bills when they ran the ball like 49 times and absolutely destroyed them on the ground. We should have been able to establish when we both wanted in Gibbs early and rode that, because the Cowboys defense is designed for pass coverage. They've got really good back 5, and then they've got pass rushers to get after QB to force him into mistakes. And they've got linebackers who can cover running backs and tight ends easily. They were designed to stop the pass, and yet, because of play calling decisions, we couldn't establish it, and it yet forced Goff to have to to start throwing the ball, and got pressured a bit, and he throws a couple of interceptions. Like the first interception definitely came from pressure too early on the screen. He throws it to the intended receiver, and it gets jumped by Jordan Lewis. And then the second one was just a really good play by the corner. Like, we just set up. We came in the wrong game plan for in the first half, and thankfully we kind of managed to adjust in a second and got close to making it work.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some really good stuff from Goff in recent weeks, and some really accurate throws. But when he's under pressure, and when it's just kind of like chaotic at the line of scrimmage, that's like Goff at his worst. And both picks I thought were really, really poor throws. The first pick, he should have just thrown it away. Like, he tried to thread the needle like behind the line of scrimmage when the pocket was already collapsing, and he just should have just thrown that away. And the second one was just another poor throw, and he did the third poor throw on the second 2-point attempt. It wasn't Goff's best game, but at the same time, he also made some clutch throws. And when we needed to make a big drive at the end of the fourth quarter, he didn't put a foot wrong. So it was kind of like an up and down day for Goff. I mean, the fact that Jamison Williams now is a threat all the time, and I think that's going to be great for our playoffs. St Brown, after that, like one bad game, is right back at it. Laporta had a better game, but just certainly in terms of catching, maybe not in terms of blocking. And I thought Montgomery and Gibbs were really good, and they again made people miss tackles. They found gaps, but the problem was they were just like sitting ducks for some of those plays where blocking assignments missed, blitzes coming through, and like I said, those tackle for losses just killed us because once our run game's disrupted, it puts the whole offense on tilt.
And then in terms of the offensive line, so we gave up a sack, 7 hits and 12 hurries on the day. So, I mean, Graham Glasgow, 5 pressures given up. Jonah Jackson, 2 quarterback hits, 2 pressures. Frank gave up the sack, even though I don't remember that. A quarterback hit and a pressure. Penne gave up 2 pressures on the day. Taylor gave up 3. So, I mean, it was a rough outing for the guys there. But, I mean, what do we think? Was this more they schemed very well against them, or was this the O-line who had an off day in regard, or are we more sort of praising Dallas for that?
Mix of both. So usually Parsons lines up over the right tackle. They made the good decision, for them at least, of lining him up more over Decker. And it showed, especially on that last drive, as we'll get into it, then we'll come into what happened at the end of it later. The only time that Parsons lined up over the left tackle was on that 2-point conversion. Every other time they lined up against Saul, and Saul held him pretty much in check. It's whoever Decker was facing got some work, and whoever was going up against our guards in Jonah and Graham, they really had bad days yesterday, and it's making that guard situation look a lot more desperate as we come into the off-season, because we rely on our O-line, and to have relatively weak spots at our guard spot, 2 of our guard spots now. We knew right guard is going to be an issue coming into the off-season with both Graham and Vaitai out of contract, and Sorsdal looking okay for his draft pedigree, but maybe not a starting guard going into next year. Now that left guard situation looks a lot worse, because before the season, we would have been happy to sign Jonah to extension. Right now, with some of the injuries, with him obviously missing a few games, that brings his price tag down. And then his bad performance the past couple of weeks, like he's had a really bad month and a bit. It's really made that also look like a need going into the off-season now.
Yeah, I didn't think Glasgow played too badly. I know he had one stupid penalty, but Jackson didn't look great. Jackson looked like the weak link, like all the way through that game.
Yeah, I tend to believe it. So I think they scheme really well against us. They put a lot of pressure on, and I think it just overwhelmed them parts. But let's flip it to our defense, because we'll do it all with us. And I mean, we can only talk good things here, right, guys? Because again, like they put Goff under pressure. We did put Dak under pressure. Again, 8 tackles for loss on the day. Hutch was absolutely superb. So he graded at just under 88. He had 3 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, a hurry, 2 tackles, 5 run stops, a forced fumble. Dude did everything on the day. But as I say, the big, beefy guys in the interior kept them down to 2.9 yards per carry. We're seeing the emergence of Kindle Vildor in the backfield out of, against all the odds there. And Barnes, I know for the big miss, we talked about that. Outside of that, had a very clean game, but they made stop after stop after stop. Iffy is continuing his hot streak. Another pick for him. Like, for as bad as we can say, they schemed against us. I mean, what Aaron Glenn did in this game, it was just superb. And to a man, apart from one guy who we'll talk about for the most part, everybody else did an absolutely stunning job in this one.
Yeah. I don't know which guy you're referring, because there's 2 in my mind, but the weird thing is one of those guys that I was looking to have a go at was also our second highest graded defender, because after they made one really stupid decision with their arms, they played pretty damn well the rest of the game. But it's just because that one decision they decided not to use their arms when making a play. It cost us something big, and unfortunately that's a bit worrying. But yeah, like I was happy pretty much for the most part. If he has any Lions DB had a good month as if he's had in December. Like, it seems that as soon as the Christmas carols come on and Mariah Carey and Michael Bublé are defrosted out the freezer and singing their songs, if he just turns it on, and it must be like the sort of repetitive nature of like, all I want for Christmas is you, and that just wakens a beast in him, because he just woke up. He's gone from, in the off season, candidates not even make the 53 of the practice squad, to now being, and it pains me to say, I've said it on the live stream, next this in the playoffs, we've got CJ back. It's him, and if he's starting at safety, I'm only bringing in Kirby on passing downs, because if he has played out of his mind these past couple of weeks.
Steve's favourite phrase, you ride the hot hand. But,
exactly.
I mean, defence-wise, Steve, what or who stood out for you in this one? Because obviously this was maybe, because I think I tweeted this at some point, this is the best Lions defensive display I've seen in years. Like, not just this season, but in years. It just looks so crisp and clean. But, you know, what did you think of the defence in this one?
I mean, as you know, I've been not one of Aaron Glan's biggest fans, but this was definitely like one of our best sort of 2 or 3 games of the season, in terms of defense, because we did scheme really well. I mean, I think first of all, this was Aidan Hutchinson's best game of the season. He was like absolutely outstanding. The spin move for the 3rd sack was just like a thing of absolute beauty. That's like got to be one of the highlights of the year. And like Hutch was all over the place. And yeah, I think the front 7 played like really well. We kind of pretty much shut down their run game. They kind of went back to it later on, and had a bit of success, but still, you know, we were all over them when in terms of the run game. Hutch was after Dak all night and really put him under pressure. You know, but it's a secondary, and I mean, like as I said, like last week and probably the week before, Cam Sutton isn't CB1. He's a pretty decent CB2, and you put him up against a Justin Jefferson or a CD Lamb, and very bad things happen. And you know what? How many yards did Lamb get? 180, 190?
200. Tried 226.
I mean, that's like unforgivable. If you want to win a playoff game, you cannot afford to let their wide receiver 1 get 200 yards. And you know, Sutton looked like he was like roller skating on marbles for a lot of the game. He seemed to like lose his footing a couple of times. Iffy, great interception, but he got burned, I think, on the Cooks touchdown. I think.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. He did.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like you just have to have you just have to be able to shut down the passing game, because in any 4th quarter of any NFL game, you know, there's always like an air raid in the last 5-6 minutes, and you have to stop the 2-minute drill. And if you can't protect, like, you know, your secondary, it was just really, really disappointing to see that, because I think CD Lamb is one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the league, but he's not like a Calvin Johnson good. Like, he's good, but he's not like out of this world good. We've seen him shut down by people. We have seen people cover him, and we're just nowhere near him.
So Cam gave up 9 of 9 for 113 yards. That is what he's officially credited with. But that was my sort of one negative point. I know Ash has got another, but I mean, the money we're paying him, the form's got to get better soon, sure, because it seems to have been gradually declining lately.
I mean, the one thing I would say about Cam is that big play that he lost his footing in the first half, and I think Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb ripped off about 40 yards, but after losing his footing, CeeDee Lamb cuts inside. If he misses a tackle, and then it's actually Sutton that runs back and brings him down. So, you know, the guy's trying. The guy is really, really trying. He gives everything in the game, and I'm not going to criticise him because I think he's a good player, but he's a CB2, and we absolutely have to either draft, or my preference in free agency, we need to target one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL who are in free agency. We absolutely have to bring him in.
So who's the other guy you wanted to put a point in? Because I know you said you had a couple that you sort of had a bugbear with on defense, Ash.
It was only one play, but unfortunately, it was the big play. Derek Barnes, why did you forget you have arms, my dude? Like, and you used to be a former pass rusher, as I keep mentioning every week with this guy, former pass rusher at Purdue. If out of all our linebackers, he should know how to sack a quarterback. And yes, he decided to try and shoulder check him. And look what happened. Admittedly, okay, yes, as we'll get into later with the Zebras, massive holding call on that play. You had a chance to bring down Dak before he could get away. You didn't. And it caused that. And look, I respect him a hell of a much. And I said it on the live stream. Afterwards, he bounced back and he made plays. The next drive, I think it was the second down, he gets a tackle for a loss on the screen. He took it and he used the rest of the game. He played well and he was our second highest rated defender. But when you've got a chance to make a play like that and you don't, it causes that. Because I know some people say it's an 8-point swing technically, because obviously it went from us scoring 2 points to them scoring 6 with a touchdown. It's an 8-point swing. With hindsight, obviously hindsight's 2020 and all that, that would have been it. That would have easily won us the game.
Oh, that is the game. That's the game right there.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of circumstances the game goes on, but I get you there. Anyway, we'll move it on. We'll talk about Dallas a little bit, and then we'll go into the sort of the through the game recap, and then we'll talk about the guys after. But I mean, Dallas's offense, we've mentioned it already. This is a team that scores 40 points at home. It is explosive. You've got Lamb, you've got Cooks, you've got all these guys, and like I said, they were limited to 61 yards on the ground on the day, 345 through the air, admittedly, but that's because they had to pass the ball. You've got the big 90-yard play in there as well. So if you take that out, you've got 25 receptions for 240 yards, which is not too bad on the screen things. But what did you guys make of this offense? Because we heard all about it, how great it was. They've won all these games at home, 15 in a row now, I think it is. And I thought we did wonderfully in nullifying it for the most part. It was just plays like the 190-yard play, the one Steve mentioned, the 40-yard play. There were big chunks, but I thought outside of that, I thought we pressured Dak. I thought Dak struggled to find guys a lot of the time. The run game didn't help him at all. I felt disappointed by what they bought up, but I think that's down to Aaron Glenn more than them just sort of having a bad day at the office. But they struggle to put yards on us outside these big plays.
The Cowboys are not going to be in the Super Bowl this year. Like, no way with that kind of offense, because it's CD Lamb. And, there's going to be a cornerback that they're going to hit. I mean, like, say if they end up playing the Ravens in the Super Bowl, if they get that far, I mean, the Ravens have got plenty of talent in their secondary that will nullify CD Lamb. But it is all CD Lamb. That is their offense. The run game never got going. And I mean, Dak's good. I mean, Dak didn't throw. He threw obviously that one pick, but there were plenty of times when he was under a lot of pressure, particularly from like the left side with Hutch, and he didn't throw a stupid pick. He threw the ball away when he needed to. He sensed the pressure was coming. So, outside of that, they've got very little.
What did you make of the Dallas offense, Ash, on the day?
Yeah, it was just a Lamb show. Like, as someone pointed out in the chat, it was Big Airy 70 pointing out he had 17 targets. 17. Everyone else added up for admittedly another 20. But when Lamb is nearly half the targets and basically 2/3 of the passing yards, it tells you everything you need to know. Even interception, if you obviously make a great play to talk about defense, but Lamb was wide open and he's literally there, like waving for the ball. If he sees that and times his run perfectly to intercept it, that could have been another big play. If he's just slightly off with that timing, that's another big play where they've converted a big thing. It was just a thing, and it was with the big play that they got the 92-yard touchdown. We did a hell of a job when they were in like from 3rd and 5 shorter. As soon as they got into sort of 3rd and longs, Lamb was just able to find a hole in the zone or just get a bit of separation from everything man coverage and converted. That's what it was. It's just one of the top 5, 3. Well, hell, you think Lamb this year has been a top 2 receiver in the league, just making plays. And that's the problem with our defenses, especially just with the cornerback talent we have. Even Spicer's invested in it in this offseason. We just have a load of cornerback 2s or cornerback 3s. Like Jerry is it should be a cornerback 2, cornerback 3. Sutton should be that. And yet because of that we can't defend wide receiver ones. It's been a trend all this season, not just with Lamb, but with Jefferson last week, with DJ Moore in both games, with Keenan Allen, with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett early in the season. We go up against like these top 15, 20 wide receivers. We give up big yards to them. But the encouraging thing is, in a way to sort of make a spin a bit, we have in the past couple of weeks sort of got away with it where we've allowed these these receivers to get all this yardage, but they haven't got many touchdowns, and we've restricted the other passing weapons. So they have to be one-dimensional in the pass game, which makes it easier for us to make plays on the ball. And that's why we've been getting these turnovers, which is making the defense better because they're getting off the field, they get breathers, and it's just a spiral from there. But it isn't, we'll agree, we do have to invest in the off-season, and I'll probably come on to it later in our wider discussions. I have to disagree with Steve. It's probably going to have to come through the draft because this year's free agent cornerback class is not good at all. It's a load of veteran guys who will be worth a lot, basically more Cam Suttons, but older. We need to go for a young guy, and I'm sure in the months to come, people want to tune in because we will be looking at the cornerbacks because there is some damn good ones in this class.
Hell, we just need to find 3 more Kindle Viddledors and then we're good.
Oh, yeah, true.
True.
Just to kind of like one note of kind of like for Aaron Glenn though, we know we don't have a CB1. We know we've got these guys that are like CB2, CB3, but there are some defensive players. I believe they're called safeties, and isn't the idea with the safety that that's when you double a man. You put a safety on, tracking CD Lamb, and so many times someone says in the chat, why was Kindle Vilder one-on-one with Lamb for that 92-yard play? Like there was that was just one instance, but there were many instances where Lamb was left to go, one-on-one, and like by this time the guy's got 100, 150 yards. Surely this is the point when Aaron Glenn makes an adjustment and just says to one of the safeties, I want you on him as well.
He did. So that one, so for example, there was one of the big third downs. He was literally triple covered. He had Sutton, Iffy, and Kirby all in the vicinity, and he just made a great play.
Oh, unfortunately, that sucked big time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just one of them where we were doing it, but because he's such a good receiver, he was just able to find that little bit of separation between the two. It's just one of them where, unfortunately, he was stuck because either we were using him to get pressure like we were with Iffy, or we were trying to put him in coverage, and Lamb and Dak just had that sort of chemistry where they could find the perfect hole to get through that coverage. Unfortunately, it's not like, but I think it is something he has improved over the season because 4 or 5 weeks ago he wasn't doing that at all. He was trusting him to be one-on-one. And it's something he's adjusted, especially with Kirby, with Iffy coming and being the blitzer. Kirby has kind of been used to that, but it's unfortunately this week, I think it was just Lamb made a load of good plays against it. It probably won't surprise me if it was only 50% of the plays he was doubled because we're blitzing someone or because of the coverage, because we're in zone. But yeah, I think we were doubling him and it just was unfortunately just beating it.
And for all the chatter about that, we came up against a much better quarterback last week. And I think last week when Mullins was doing it, we were robbing Mullins. We were bringing Kirby got the pick from, they were playing Robert, weren't they? As soon as it went in the air, they bring the second guy out. But Dak's just a better passer. So I think that there's a balance to be found with this. You've got to find a way to sort of bait the better quarterbacks into making some of those more risky throws when you're one-on-one. So, I don't know. It'd be good tape for them anyhow, but this Dallas team, it's based on its defense quite clearly, is that you have a domineering front line, Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, these guys. And again, as Ash said, these linebackers, they hit hard, they're strong. A lot of them are they're linebacker safety hybrid type guys who are great against the run, but they're speedy enough to work well in coverage. And then you've got corners who can take the ball away, which they did twice against us. That, for as much disappointed as I was with the Dallas offense, that defense is as advertised. It's lethal, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Speaking of zone backers, they had a decent day. Admittedly, was more in coverage, but Marquise Bell had a good day. Damone Clark was also good. Admittedly, PFF only has them in the 60s, but they were here, there, and everywhere getting the stuff. The one big surprise to me on that defense was, and it might shock people to say, Parsons wasn't the best of their edge rushers. DeMarcus Lawrence had a game against us.
Yeah.
He always seems to. I'm not invoking the previous games he's made big plays against us on. But for some reason, Tank Lawrence, when it comes to playing the Lions, just turns it on and looks like one of those edge ones that he was for a couple of years in the league before we got the Nick Bosa, Parsons, TJ Watt in. He looked like that kind of guy again. Hell, Dante Fowler made big plays against us. Dante Fowler, that's someone who was like Charles Harris, was a bust in Atlanta. He suddenly worked out how to be a good edge rusher. He made plays against the run, something which he's never been good at. He's always been a speed rusher. That front line just had a day against us. The linebackers were then able to work off that, and then the corners, especially Jordan Lewis and Donovan Wilson, who the guys who got the picks, they were able just to read our screens and our short yard stuff, which they've always been good at because they're designed to flow to those things. They're designed to flow to the ball as quickly as possible and make plays on it. So they just had, it was just, I hate to say it, Dan Quinn has really cemented himself as a good defensive coordinator, and he might have earned himself another head coaching job somewhere.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree with that, Ash.
Yeah, okay. Right. Well, I'll just do a quick recap again. I'll not be to the level Matt does, but we'll go through and talk about the pressing points on there. So first quarter starts off, Dallas defer, give the Lions the ball. First drive for us, looked pretty good. Goff to Raymond, found early on for a big play. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a 23-yard gain into Cowboys territory. Montgomery had a run for 11 yards on a 3rd and 11. Got us to near the red zone, but unfortunately the drive did stall out, start of some of those bad run plays that weren't blocked. So Badgley comes in, nails the 41-yard field goal to put us up. Cowboys look really good early as well. CD Lamb, the first of many against Cameron Sutton, shook him off, took a 31-yard gain there, and Cowboys were looking dangerous. But then Ifiatu Melifonwu, him who is in such red-hot form at the minute, such a beautiful pick, just absolutely comes in and robs the receiver. I think that was Lamb that he chopped in front of, robbed him blind, was able to bring it back, put us in really good field position in Dallas territory. First play was a screen to Amon-Ra for 13 yards, but then big tackle for loss from Micah Parsons, I think from 6. Then Dorrance Armstrong sack took us all the way to about the 50, so we had to punt it away. Then the big play, we got them into 3rd and 12. They were in their own 10-yard line at this point. Aaron Glenn ordered the mother of all blitzers. Everybody went in, thought the safety was going to be there. Dak sidesteps Derek Barnes, who should have taken him down, uncorks a deep shot. As it's been said, Kindle Vildor slipped. CD Lamb, 92 yards, easiest touchdown he's going to score in his life. Detroit then went 3 and out, tried a draw on 3rd and short, which just didn't work. Monty got hit for 3 yards, but we did end the quarter with a 3 and out of our own, forced them to punt there. That was the first quarter. Not much happened, a lot of big drives in there, but obviously our first one stalled out, the iffy interception, the big play, we've mentioned this there, but is there anything else you guys want to mention about the start of this? It looked good and then just descended into defensive warfare.
I just want to go back to the safety that wasn't. I mean, like, Barnes had such a clear run on him. And when you said Dak sidestepped him, like, it wasn't like that he just, like, dropped his shoulder and sold him a dummy. Dak literally just took, like, a sort of 6-inch step to the side. And Barnes was just like, this will go over the head of our American friends, but the cheese rolling on May Day, the guys cheese rolling when they're running down the hill, and they literally got no brakes and they can only run forward. And Barnes just, like, it was just like crazy. He never at any point put his arms out to try and take him down. He just ran past him. It was, I can't get over it. Like, I during the commercial break, I went back and rewound it about 3 times because I'm like, what? Is there something here I'm missing? Was he, like, knocked off balance, or was he tripped, or he just whiffed? It was just unbelievable. And the only thing I think Ash mentioned, the only thing I can think is that he was worried of drawing, like, a personal foul because he was flying so fast at Dak, and whether he just tried to, like, put on the brakes and kind of, like, just forgot to make the tackle. But it was it was as basic as you could get. It was really disappointing from Barnes, who did have a good game otherwise. But like I said, these moments make or break you in the playoffs.
Anything else you want to mention about the first, Ash? Or because I know
No.
in the end of the thing, not that much actually. All right, we'll move it on to the second. So the Lions started the second quarter, 19-yard gain to Amon-Ra St. Brown, got us to the Cowboys 38, and then this one, the Lions tried a screen pass, but Goff was running in the opposite direction on his back foot, tosses it up, and former Michigan player of all people, Jordan Lewis, reads it from the beginning. One of the easiest picks of his life, turns the ball over. Dallas started with a couple of passes to Brandon Cooks, moves them into field goal range, but then the Lions get another turnover. Prescott finds CD Lamb, but CD Lamb, being the greedy so-and-so he has, tried to reach it over the pylon for a touchdown. He fumbled the ball through the end zone. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. Was that Vildor who knocked it out on that play?
Yeah, it was.
Kindle Vildor, with the greatest play, knocks it into the end zone and rolls it out. Before anyone says that rolling out the back of the end zone turnover, I'm fine with that. Do not get rid of that rule. That is just for greedy receivers. You shouldn't have stretched out. But it was a wonderful turnover. Obviously gives the Lions the ball back. Looked like they were headed for a 3-and-out. And then the most ballsy of fake punts deep in our own territory, which you can see Asher's smile on his face there. First ever career pass for Jalen Reeves-Maybin was a 31-yard. It was a dime. It was like a moon ball almost. Found Khalil Dorsey, the cornerback. So linebacker to cornerback.
A great catch as well.
It was a beautiful play, but 31 yards moves the chains for the Lions there. Rushing game moved us.
You always know it's a really good trick play when the NFL cameraman misses it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it had gone down the field looking
for
the yeah. Anyhow, the Lions rushing game did get us into the end zone, but we stalled out, and then on 4th and goal from the 5-yard line, Goff tried to force it to Sam Laporta in the end zone. This was kind of the one where we didn't take the field goal, which people want to talk about, which will come there too. But Cowboys were able to drive out their own end zone, so obviously turned it over on downs. But Hutch got the sack, and there was a delay of game penalty as well. Cowboys went into 3rd and 22, which they couldn't convert. So they punted it. Lions got the ball back at their own 42-yard line. Raymond with a nice return there. But just when you're thinking we could run the clock out, get some points, we went 3-and-out. We gave the Cowboys an opportunity to get a run there, but there was under 40 seconds left. They weren't able to get anything. The first half expires. It's 7-3. And right, there's two big bits here and here, guys. Obviously, isn't there? There is the screen pass that was intercepted. There was Vildor's great play in there as well. What did we make of the second? It was attritional warfare on defense.
Can I?
Don't speak up too soon. I know the play was bad, but you know it was.
so that fake punt, we've been setting up for a while. So we've done 2 fake punts where we've had like a direct snap to Reeves-Maybin and he runs it. And we're like, what the hell is this? This is why. Not only was it the first career pass for Jalen Reeves-Maybin, it was the first ever pass completion from a defensive player in Detroit Lions history. We witnessed history with that play. And it just, perfect play call. Perfect. Some people say might be not a perfect time. I think this was at the point where Dan was a bit worried about this turning into a shootout. We've had a touchdown. We've had 2 interceptions, turnovers. He's like, I need to make these drives count. I can't just let this go away. So we call it. It works. We go on. And then we get to that, obviously, the 4th down where it's a bit controversial. I'm okay with going for it because, as we say, we get them in their own with their own 10-yard line. We've seen we can make plays via then. Didn't finish them. But I was okay with it. With hindsight, it might have been nice for the 3 points. But at that point, I think Dan's like, this is going to turn to a shootout. I need to maximize the point output from my drives. I'm going to risk it here. It nearly works. But then at that point, it's just obviously punt, and we get the sack to end the half. Like, did you say defensive attrition? Whoever breaks first loses.
I don't know. Where do you fall with the Dan Campbell aggressiveness, Steve? Did you like it?
I was perfectly happy with it. I think he didn't go for everything, but like the punt was just completely out of the blue and absolutely the right call. And I think he showed like a mix of controlled aggression. And I was more than happy because, we're playing the Cowboys, and I just don't think we could have gone punch for punch with them without throwing in some trickery. We had to kind of, as the road team, we had to kind of have a bit of flair and deception in our kind of like playbook. So I was cool with it. What I wasn't cool about was that interception that Goff threw. I thought it was one of his worst decisions of the season, and just absolutely paid for it. And it was just at the wrong moment as well in the game.
Yeah, I think you've got to be sensible. I think you've got to realize you're on your back foot. You're running away from the screen. It's going to be very difficult to convert there. I think you've just got to throw that one away. I
Yeah,
think you
to
can
throw.
do better on that one there. I do agree with you, but
And as the pocket collapsed, there were so
yeah.
many bodies coming into that line of the throw. Like, just don't make that throw. Throw it away.
Exactly. But I'm on the side of I agree with you. The aggression is needed. If you want to go and win a tough road playoff game, if you want to win these big playoff games, you've got to be aggressive. You are not going to go to win in Dallas with field goals. Now, people will say we would because we lost by one, but what you don't realize is if you kick a field goal, none of the rest of the game happens. It's a completely different game because they don't turn it over and start driving, etc., etc. So you can't base it on that. You've got to go there and play aggressive. I have no problems with any of those whatsoever. But attritionally, it was great. Hutch stood up. I mean, we've made, a lot of people have been like, maybe we need to see some more big plays from Hutch where the sacks are saving his team and he's leading the defense. I thought we didn't that. That one to end the half was really good. It's like firmly shut the door, no stupid field goals, no nothing like that. I love the way he got on with that. Let's do the second half because I know we are coming up on college football playoff time. So coming out, third quarter. So yeah, Dallas ball up first. Lamb picked up an early 3rd and 8 with a quick slant. They couldn't convert though. Branch broke up a pass to Lamb on a 3rd and 12. Lions get the ball back. We got some early success with the ground game. 22 yards from Monty was able to move us into Dallas territory. 4th and 2, we went for, found Sam Laporta, Jared Goff did for a 4-yard gain. Another big call from Dan. Goff then found Josh Reynolds. He ran to the Cowboys 11-yard line. And then facing a 3rd and 2 from the 9, bully ball. Montgomery rushes it in, although there was a penalty in there. It was from the 3-yard line, but Monty absolutely bulldozed it in there. One of the few times we used him in short yardage. 10-7 Lions. Cowboys hit back 18-yard run from Tony Pollard on 3rd and 1, which was disappointing, got them into our territory. Dallas also faced a 3rd and 11, which they converted again. CeeDee Lamb for 14 yards. He beat a Branch tackle on that one when he was short of the sticks. One of Branch's few mistakes in there. There were not many, but we did get the stop on the next series of downs, forced the Cowboys to attempt a 51-yard field goal, which they got, which was good. 10 apiece. Ended the quarter, a 34-yard run by Gibbs, negated by a holding penalty on James Mitchell. And I've been a big fan of JMO, but he's got a lot of work to do there. Set our drive back a bit as we got to the 4th quarter. There was not much in the 3rd quarter, guys. Just a couple of big, long drives in there from us, especially. Ours was great. But the Monty touchdown, it was a good riposte to the first half. We were able to get the score level again.
Great blocking for the Monty touchdown. Like, that was our O-line at its best.
It really was. And yeah, I agree with the James Mitchell holding. I was so happy because I sort of could see him. He was getting used and he was blocking really well, but from pass and rundown. And yeah, he makes that one poor decision and it just completely tanks his day, tanks his grave with PFF as well. Well, that and because of something else that happens at the end of the 4th. But yeah, he had really good day for someone who obviously last year was kind of unheralded coming off with the ACL. Caught all of his targets, was a good, reasonable blocker. But this year with Laporta coming in, him taking pitch all the snaps, and then Brock Wright being the preferred option, he kind of faded to the background, was scratched some weeks, only got like 5 snaps on other weeks, and was mostly special teams. He, for the most part, took his opportunity, but yeah, 2 plays let him down on the day, and it might tank his ability to get more snaps with Ferguson, perhaps get up to speed with the squad now he's on the active roster.
Well, we know what we need to do, guys. We need to ask the NFL to not give holding calls because Micah Parsons did that. Oh, they didn't get no holding calls on the day, and we did. So maybe that's what. Maybe we're just gonna go and ask nicely. Steve, will you ask Roger Goodell very nicely if we can not have any holding calls in the playoffs? That might do the trick.
I'll see what he says. Yeah, certainly.
But let's get into the fourth quarter, and this is where a lot of the fun stuff happens. So the Lions, this is when the big play to Waymo, as the Detroit Lions Twitter account put it. I do quite like that. But Goff hits Williams in stride, 63-yard play, which was just absolutely sensational. JMO at his best. Unfortunately for us, he got hurt on there. He twisted his ankle and he went out the game, which I think hurt us in the red zone, especially having a guy who can get separation like that. But Goff struggled to find reception there. We tried to run the ball a couple of times, got nothing. Goff tried to find Gibbs on a 3rd and 3. We have to settle for a field goal at 13-10. Dan finally deciding to become slightly passive and getting some points on the board. But the next Dallas drive, they take the lead. There's a 21-yard pass to Brandon Cooks. It moved him into our territory. And a few plays later, Prescott finds Cooks for an 8-yard touchdown. That was the one where he got iffy, unfortunately. That was 17-13 to the Cowboys with 7:20 remaining. We didn't have an answer for this. We went 3 and out, which was really disappointing. Goff, under all the pressure in the world, couldn't find St. Brown. We punted it away with still 6 minutes on the clock. We barely took a minute off there. Lamb started up again. He got a key 3rd and 10 conversion for them to keep the chains and the clock moving. But Hutch gave us another opportunity. He got a sack for on a 3rd and 6, I think it was, ended making it a 4th and 13. So we were able to get one more drive. The Lions would start at their own 11-yard line with 2:33 remaining. I feel like I missed one out here, did I? No. Donovan Wilson. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Where was I? I got here. Apologies. I just missed there. So, yeah, you get the Hutch sack. They punt it. Lions start at their own 11 with 2:33 remaining. But on the second play of the drive, Donovan Wilson jumps Jared Goff's pass that would nearly seal the game for them. And I'm going to disagree with Steve from earlier. I thought it was a fantastic pick. I don't think it was a bad pass. That was one of the best picks I've seen in a very long time. He jumped that route in no time at all and was able to get it there. We did get the stand that we needed.
But there was we had a wide receiver with separation about 5 yards up the field, and he could have changed the throw because it was obvious that was it Laporta he was trying to get to.
Laporta, yeah, it was Laporta's the first read, and I think Leaf. It was Leaf that was open because I've watched it back. I've watched it back today. I think Leaf hadn't made his cut for the route yet, so he hadn't got that separation. So yeah, Goff might have been able to get to him if he wasn't pressured, but because I think there was some pressure on him, he saw that Laporta was relatively open and Wilson just jumped it.
I think it's
one of those where
I agree. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say we agree. Yeah, we agree. If Goff wasn't pressured, he might have been able to get to it, but it's just unfortunately combination of pressure and just a really good jump by Wilson that combined it. It goes against Goff because obviously I checked yesterday when Courier came out. That class is a turnover worthy play by them, I think, and it has gone against him. But it's a combination of maybe like rusher pressure, Goff being knocked into his first receiver, and Wilson jumping out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do agree there may have been another pass on there, but I still think the pass he made, I still think it was a damn good pick. I think there's a lot of corners that would have got nowhere near that. But that was just my thing with it. Anyhow, 2013 Cowboys with 1:41 left. We get the stop. They get a field goal. Couple of passes to Sam Laporta on our last drive. Got us to the 40-yard line. We marched down quite quickly. 14 yards then to St. Brown to get us to the 26. Laporta then gets us down to the 11 with 30 seconds left. And then to cap it off, Amon-Ra St. Brown dives in for 11 yards. He gets another touchdown on the year. Great for him. And then this is where all the fun starts. I was screaming, go for 2 here. I wanted to win the entire thing. So we opt to go for
100%.
2 with 23 seconds left. And I'm going to say this, we convert a successful 2-point play with the throw to Taylor Decker. Big man play right there. 2 points. We win the game. Bring in the referees. And we'll talk about this in this, but the referees chalk it off because they call Taylor Decker ineligible. He is not the ineligible man on the play. The Lions, Then, because we get pinged 5 yards, we go 7 yards away. The Lions attempt another 2-yard point conversion from the 7. Goff tries to find James Mitchell, and hang on, the second time, they get pinged, for
5-yard
neutral
penalty.
zone infraction. So then we get back to the original point of scrimmage, and we try for a third time to go in for the 2-point conversion. Goff tries to find Mitchell, throws it short of the end zone. He has to go down. It's a tough catch for him to get. I think the throw is a bit too short for him, but it's out of Mitchell's arms. It's a very tough catch. Even if he gets it, he's short of the mark. Cowboys sneak away with the jammiest win in the world ever. And there's a lot to talk about that quarter, but referee explanation, Taylor Decker did not report himself as eligible for the play, which is absolute balderdash because him and Penne are stood right in front of referee Brad Allen. Jared Goff sends Taylor Decker over to report eligible. The 2 guys are there. He reports eligible. And Dan Skipper, who is running onto the field and is about 20 yards away at the time, number 70, gets primed as the eligible man. That's who Brad Allen says to the Cowboys, this is the eligible receiver.
Even though Skipper didn't speak to the ref at any point.
Yeah.
Skipper didn't say a fucking word. Now, excuse my obscenity, but that is the actual line that he used.
He's exactly what to say. You're just quoting him twice.
Exactly. That's what I mean. I'm sorry for the obscenity, but I'm just telling you how it was said in real life. He didn't say a word, but this costs the Lion the game. They have a successful 2-point try. I mean, Dallas would have had 23 seconds left to get a field goal. Who knows what would have happened, but we'd have sat in soft. It would have been very difficult for them to get something out of the game, and it is robbed. And other parts in this play, there is a blatant DPI missed on Amon-Ra St. Brown on this drive. There is big holdings missed as well. But this was, and everybody who has come out afterwards, even Skip Bayless said it was bull, and he is the biggest Cowboys homer in the world, unless it suits him to attack Dak. This was just a disgusting decision at the end of the game, which ruined a really good game, and in the end, a really good performance, because the Lions offense came to life when it needed to, in clutch situations, got the scores, your big players come up and do it, your defense makes stop after stop after stop. Hutcher's great stop there, all to be wasted by that. It was infuriating, guys.
Yeah, but don't you know that we deserve it because we tried to trick the Cowboys. We tried to do something that made it hard to see who the eligible receiver was. So we deserved it. If that's the fucking case, then let's stop motion. Let's stop play action. Let's do simple 3-step drop, quick passes so the defense can see everything just happen easily and stop it. Of course, if people don't know what I'm referring to the article by Pro Football Talk today. That basically, that's what the league's saying. It's all our fault. Despite them also dropping Brad Allen's crew from the playoffs. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. If ESPN can have the footage of the lineman coming over and speaking to Brad Allen mere moments after it happening and they can analyze it live, why the fuck can't someone in New York radio to whoever it is and say, actually, you made a bad call here, let's sort it out? Just
because we're in Jerry World.
Exactly. Jerry World must have paid him a big bank, almost as much as Jurgen Klopp must have given the referee in today's game for that dive for Mo Salah for the penalty.
So what was also jarring about this is on the broadcast, they then started saying, oh, it's not just that penalty, it's 3 others. One, Taylor Decker is not, he's uncovered, which it doesn't matter. If he's an eligible receiver, which he was, that is not a penalty. Then they started trying to say Amon-Ra is impinging. Amon-Ra's covering up him. He's not. He's away from the line of scrimmage. Absolute bull. So you've got the guy on air saying they've got 3 penalties. Not one of them is true. You have video evidence of Goff sending Taylor over. You have video evidence of Brad talking to Taylor and walking away looking at Taylor and not at Dan. And then you've got all these guys coming out trying to defend them today. The Lions didn't do it properly. It came out that Dan discussed this play with the refs, told them exactly what was going to happen, exactly who was going to be eligible, everything about it he told the refs.
And he even went and spoke to Brad Allen one-on-one about it because Brad Allen didn't turn up for the referee's meeting with the coaches beforehand. He went and spoke to Brad specifically about it. That's what's the fucking annoying thing. Like, and the simple proof is they've got a microphone on. Yeah, okay, it's not turned on for the stadium tier, but that's on at all times. Release the audio, but the NFL won't because they got the outcome they wanted. So they're not going to do it. They don't give a shit. They'll just give Brad a slap on the hand. He won't be refereeing the playoffs, but he'll be back for next year fucking things up because it's not the first big fuck up he's made this year. He's made a series of them, but because it's a sort of protect your own kind of league, he won't have too much against him. He'll just get a slap on the wrist and he'll be back next year, fucking games up for teams.
Frank says, should the Lions fans dress as refs for the Vikings game? No, we should dress as refs for Halloween because like scary stuff happens with the refs. That's when you should do it for. Very quick snap. Worse than the Pettigrew call or not?
I have to abstain because I actually don't remember that.
The Pettigrew call is more subjective. Like this is like, I mean, we've got
does this annoy you more
evidence
than the Pettigrew call? Because that was that was incorrectly picked up. This
because with that one, that effectively put us out of, that's us out of the playoffs. Whereas this one, we're still in the playoffs. It just fucks up our seeding.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean because I don't call it. I call it the Hitchens call. Yeah, that's what I got confused. Yeah, I agree, Steve. Hitchens won because we've still got a chance in the playoffs.
You can blanket them both in the same name, which is the Dallas Screwjob.
Yeah, the Dallas Screwjob, the first and the second. Yeah,
but just very quickly, the fourth quarter in general, the team I think performed very admirably. Hutch gets the stop with the sack. Very clutch drive to get that touchdown. I was really impressed with the team in the fourth quarter and what they did.
Because we'd gone 3 and out so many times in that sort of in the second half. That stop, that final stop with Hutch, that was massive for me because how many times have we been screaming that make a play, someone make a play, we need to get the ball back, and Hutch just came up massively there. That was such a pivotal moment in the game.
Yeah, and I'm gutted for him because, again, if we win that game, it's because of Hutch. And then, we can start talking. Hutch won us that game because that's just what he lacks at the minute. These legitimate moments. Not his fault, but this would have been a huge thing for him. But I think you agree, Ash, the fourth quarter was really good on both sides of the ball. Towards the end, when it mattered and they were under the most pressure, everybody delivered.
Exactly, especially Hutch. So going on to that, obviously the one where they punted before inception. Not only did Hutch sack Dak, he also stripped him, and Terrence Steele made his best play of the game by recovering that fumble. Like, as you say, when it came to the clutch, everyone stepped up, and that's a good thing because, as we keep saying, 2 weeks' time we'll be in a win or you're out kind of game. We need that kind of mentality. So it's good to see that from everyone.
Yeah. But overall, it's disappointing. Just such a bad end. That should have been such a statement win for us. It really should have, and it's just ruined everything. But we're going to have to box that for now. As Dan said, take that and move it into the playoffs and use it to use a whooping on somebody. As Steve has just very rightly said, the Rose Bowl is just kicking off. So we've kind of done the game themes as we've been going on here. But let's do the cigars and subpars first. And I've added a third category for this. So you've got cigars, subpars, and baseball bat wrapped in rusty steel. You can hit someone with that. So whoever you want to think of that, go. But in terms of great performances on the day of the cigars, who do we want to give? Steve, you first. Ash, you after, and then I'll do mine.
Aiden Hutchinson, 5 solo tackles, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 5 QB hits, absolutely outstanding, and effectively got us back in the game and put us in a position to win the game. For me, Hutch's best game. He was absolutely a premier edge rusher. In that game. He really, because Hutch has always kind of flashed, but he absolutely dominated this game.
Yeah, Brian Branch had a couple of down games against the Saints, Chicago, and relatively Broncos. But this past couple of weeks, he's turned back into the Brian Branch we had at the start of the season, and it at least shores up one of the holes in the secondary. Just need to sort out the outside now.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm gonna make my guys there. We're in the Kindle Vildor Appreciation Society here, but I think the impact he's had on this team to knock Jerry out the starting lineup, and for even guys like, Will Harris, and not seeing Stephen Gilmore get on the field, he's like in front of guys who've been here all year. He's playing ball, he's playing good ball, and it's desperately needed. This is again, outside of a couple of big chunk plays, the secondary is looking better. So you've got to put him in there. Iffy is in the cigar section as well. He's just man gets all the stogies in the world at the minute. So that is great. Subpars, who are we giving? I mean, I don't like this, but we do have to be critical sometimes. So is there anyone in the subpar category today?
For me, Ben Johnson, because I just don't think he schemed the offense well enough. And like I said, too many tackles for loss from the Cowboys. I think they had, how many tackles for loss did they have? 8. I mean, yeah. When you've got people like David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, you just can't afford for them to be just hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage. And for me, that's on Ben Johnson.
Hate to say it, but Jonah just having a really down couple of weeks. He needs to step it back up, especially when into crunch time, because teams are targeting him. And it's evidence. I know obviously Ragnar got charged with a sack. It was on Jonah. He needs to step it up the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that was probably the direction I was going as well. But I'll go for the other one. Cam's got to be better. Like if Kindle can come in and do what he's doing, Cam has got to be better. I know he gets the tougher assignments, but there were some bad ones, like the missed tackle on CD when he had him and he got 31 yards. Like, you can't be doing that. You've got to do that there. And then finally, baseball bat with rusty metal on there. I guess we're all giving that to Brad Allen. He wins that, like, hands down. So
I'm going to give it to the Packers fans who piled on Twitter after the game because, they thought it was funny.
Oh, don't you know Jordan Love is him now, Steve? You're seeing all that going around. It's like to and fro, isn't it? 1 week it's get guy in the draft. Next it's Jordan Love is God. There's no middle ground.
I don't know whether it's laughing at the Lions or whether it's just jealousy that it's not just Lambeau Field where the refs are on their knees.
Hey, Madonna.
Right, so we'll leave that in terms of everything sort of with the game day. So yeah, disappointing for the Lions, but hey, we're still 11-5 on the year. Win at the end against the Vikings, and we're 12-5 exactly as I predicted. So we were right where I want to be at this point. Are you guys 12-5 as well, or were you more ambitious than that?
I think we're 12. I think it was 12-5. But speaking of that, as Matt revealed on the live stream, there was no way to catch him. He's won that bloody preseason prediction thing. I'm
surprised. I'm surprised he's not. Well, if it was Steve, we'd know because he'd be wearing a crown on the stream right now. So
exactly. I'd have an ermine robe on.
Oh dear. Oh. Right. Again, the Michigan game, but very quickly, just sort of any other talking points that you want to mention from around the NFL this week. I mean, good God, how good do the Ravens look at this point? Like,
yeah.
You've got to, out of everybody, they look like they're Super Bowl favorites right now at this point.
Yeah, I was just going to say, keep up the good work in Philadelphia, Agent Patricia.
They might never win a game again.
I tell you what, Kyler Murray looked good. Kyler Murray was playing some ball in that game. He looked really good. But what the fuck is going on in the Eagles?
Matt Patricia, like, I don't know.
Can't just be him. They were awful.
So obviously, yeah, the Ravens are the 1 seed in the AFC. The 49ers are the 1 seed. I'm still not sold on the 49ers entirely there, but I mean, just to do away with the Dolphins like that was crazy. Obviously, the Browns, God, what season they're having. They're at 11 wins now, and their injury list is huge.
Like Joe Flacco's their quarterback.
What year are we in? Are we in 2013?
I was about to say, yeah. Dare I say it? Browns line Super Bowl. Let's do it.
When did Flacco get to the Super Bowl? Was it 2013?
2013, because it was him and Kaepernick. So I remember that was my first ever Madden I played. It was the demo of Madden 14, and it was the Super Bowl 49ers Ravens, and I'd always play as the Ravens.
And also, what is going on in the NFC South? It's like every time like someone goes to the top of the table, they're like, "No, after you, no, after you." Like the Saints beating the Bucks, I couldn't believe that. And the Falcons have still got a mathematical chance of getting in the playoffs. It's just mental. No one wants to win that division.
I just want to ask this question before we go for everyone in there, but who does everyone think the Super Bowl is going? I'm asking this to the chat as well. What do you think the Super Bowl is going to be currently, given what you're saying? Given as we're just about to go into playoff season at this point, but I don't know. What do you feel the Super Bowl is going to be?
Ravens 49ers. Simple.
Oh, you're going battle of the one seeds.
Yeah.
Ravens Lions.
Oh, I'll take it.
Oh, how good it would be if it was Browns Lions. Let's manifest a Cleveland Browns Detroit Lions Super Bowl. No, we're not.
There's something about the Ravens that I just think. I just think that like they could just lose a game like completely unexpectedly. I don't know. There's something about them that I just wouldn't put any money on them, because I just got a feeling they're vulnerable to like in a game that they absolutely should win.
They're vulnerable to the AFC. Like it's going to be one. If they get to the Super Bowl, they're rolling over whoever they meet there, I think. But it's my one. In terms of, is there any other games that you want to quickly mention for weekends? Obviously, Texans and the Strouds, as we should call them now, they win again. They look like they might be going to the playoffs. Bills, I mean, oh God, how big's that one this weekend? Bills, Dolphins. That is a huge game coming into this weekend.
If Monday Night Football ends in a particular way, I can't remember which way it is, the Bills next week have to win or they're at the playoffs.
Because I think it's because the Colts are playing
Jags.
The Jags. So basically, one of them is going to get a win.
Yeah, and they're both 9-win teams, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's not forget that so the Ravens were invincible, but they lost that awful game when they played terribly to the Colts. Like they lost against Gardner Minshew, and they lost to, I think, a really crap Steelers team.
So we've got Ravens Lions and Ravens San Francisco. That is the overwhelming favorite for the Super Bowl. So I mean, be great to get some vengeance on them there. Couple of quick questions to get out of here. Bruce Irving, last call up to do you sign him to the 53? With Houston coming back potentially.
Nah, he was Houston cover for me. Flashed against the Saints, but hasn't done anything since.
Steve, do you bring him back?
No, I think we've got enough.
All right. Okay, I think that's everything. Oh, the other thing Mike asked, who's making the 1,000-yard club? Monty needs 25 yards. Gibbs needs 85. Laporta 160. Do we have 4 1,000-yard guys this year? 2 rushing, 2 receiving?
No. I think Monty can get it easily. Gibbs is a push. Laporta's not getting there, unfortunately.
Steve?
Yeah. I mean, we might might rest one of Monty and Gibbs. So maybe, I don't know, but if maybe they give Monty enough plays to get his 25 yards, and then Gibbs gets the rest of the snaps. I don't know.
All right, lovely. Right, well, we'll end it there. So thanks everyone. Thanks to everyone who has joined us this evening. Again, Matt has been ill with the flu, so thank you for bearing with me for a show because it's a little bit different. But I hope you've all enjoyed it. Enjoy Monday Night Football this evening. Enjoy the Rose Bowl. We're all going to go and watch that now. Michigan and Bama. Hopefully, Michigan go beat the absolute hell out of them. Guys, thank you for joining as always. Next shows, believe we'll be back Thursday on the main Lions pod for the Minnesota Vikings preview, and then me and Ryan will be back on Wednesday for the college football podcast, where we will either talk nice about Michigan for 2 hours or talk badly about Michigan for 2 hours. Who knows? But join us for those. And of course, Ash and Matt are going to be back on the weekend for the live reaction show for the Minnesota Vikings game as we attempt to lock up the 3 seed. So it's going to be good fun. You know where to find us all. Roar of the Lions UK, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. we're that big now that you can just type us in and we're the first object that appears. So that's all great. But thanks, Steve. Thanks, Ash. I really appreciate you joining me. And we shall see you again soon. Just remains for me to say thank you and one pride.
Fuck the refs.
Zebras.
Recording stopped.